The Suzuki Swift has been around for decades now, if you can believe it. 86,000 sold in South Africa and counting. And this new generation's got a new look, it's got a new engine, it's got some new gearbox options. And according to Suzuki, it's still fun to drive. Let's find out more about the brand new Suzuki Swift. So let's talk about the looks first. When I first saw this car in pictures, I did not like the look at all, and I still kind of don't like it. But I do think it's the kind of car that's always looked a little quirky, and Suzuki owners are, I'm sure, absolutely going to fall in love with the looks after a couple of months of ownership. This is the GLX manual version, just one below the top spec, which is the GLX CVT. There are 3 grades available, and the in-between grade, which is the GL Plus, is the one I think that's probably in that sweet spot. When you look at this car over here, you can see it's got the LEDs all around, and it's the first time that a Suzuki Swift comes with LEDs. But to get access to all those LEDs, you'll have to get the GLX top spec. I do quite like these diamond cut wheels on here, and this is 15 inches on this, the top spec model, with the lowest grade getting the hubcaps and 14-inch wheels. The car's available in 7 colors and 4 metallic colors. Next year, there will be a 2-tone option as well. This top spec model has keyless entry, and all the models across the range have electrically adjustable wing mirrors as well. The rear has been redesigned. This aperture has been lowered by 11 millimeters, which gives easier access to the boot. However, the boot is largely the same size as the previous model. The reverse camera sits in the middle here, and some might say that the reverse camera looks like an afterthought, but I'm just glad this car has one. And this, of course, being the top spec model, it comes standard, and so does the GL Plus mid-spec model. Let's take a quick look inside the new Suzuki Swift, and the first thing you'll notice is that on this top spec model you've got leather on the steering wheel, which does make a difference. It feels really nice. Then you've got the controls on the wheel here with now cruise control as well. Because this vehicle has keyless entry, I've got a stop-start button over there, and then I've got a 7-inch infotainment system on this top spec model. Other small changes include height adjustable seating for the driver's side, which is a really cool and fun feature to have on a car like this. And then you've got height adjustable steering, but nope, definitely no reach on this one. You've now got an electronic system here that manages the climate control, but other than that, the interior does feel familiar and much the same as the old one, which isn't really a bad thing. At the back, there's been an update where all the seats are now 60/40, so you've got that added convenience as well. So the Suzuki is supposed to be fun, and what better way to test that fun than a fun gymkhana? So I just set the fastest time of the week, and I can now confirm that the Suzuki is fun to drive if you've got your own private gymkhana. So now let's get behind the wheel and drive a little bit more sedately and find out what this car drives like. It's got the manual 5-speed gearbox, which Suzuki says has been slightly fiddled with, but you can now get a CVT gearbox, which is available in the range. Now remember, before, the auto gearbox was the AMT, automated manual transmission box, which I think journos didn't like, but when I drove it as a regular person, and I spoke to people that had the car, they said it was fine. So AMT be gone, CVT, hello. It's got 60 kilowatts and 112 Newton meters of torque, and we are in Cape Town at the coast. So I do feel like the car is lacking in power quite a bit, and I think Joburg people are not going to be thrilled with the power delivery. It's now got a 3-cylinder engine and not 4-cylinder engine, but that does mean you get better fuel consumption, 11% better according to Suzuki. That takes it down to as low as 4.4 liters per 100. I was able to get 4.6 quite easily, and even when driving a little bit faster than normal, 5.1 is totally achievable. So I do think this is still one of the most economical compact cars that you can buy. Depending on which model you want, you'll pay between 219,000 and 284,000. No longer does it compete directly in the entry-level segment with the Polo Vivo. But remember, there are other cars like Mahindra's 3XO, Grand i10, and others that play in that same space. But when it comes to pure price, it does look like the Suzuki has many of those beats. When it comes to fun to drive in a car like this, yes, we can do gymkhanas and closed courses all we want, but it's really about the driving experience on a road like this. And in that case, yeah, the Suzuki is relatively fun. And it's the kind of car that I think a young person would be able to do fun things in. It's a cheeky little car, and with those cheeky, interesting looks as well, it kind of fits the way the car's supposed to be and the way the car relates to the world, I think. Yeah, I think you can leave fun in the Suzuki Swift description. I've always said that a compact car like this that falls into that sub 300,000 Rand category needs to have as much safety kit on as possible. Incidentally, this car now comes with 6 airbags and stability control as standard across the range. It makes for a very compelling case. And now the battle between this, the new Mahindra on the scene, the Grand i10, the Polo Vivo and others continues to rage on. The question is, which one would you choose? I've got to say that this version of the Swift is better than the previous version. And that, I think, says a lot.
You're watching Ignition GT. Welcome back. Cheeky and fun, if not the most powerful thing on 4 wheels. That's what owners thinks of the all-new Suzuki Swift. But do our guests agree? Gentlemen, I mean, we've seen you in a Suzuki a lot of times. You have a little bit more experience of how it handles.
Especially the previous gen. I raced the previous gen Sport up Samola Hill last year. I was eagerly awaiting the arrival of the CVT gearbox. The previous one had an AMT. AMTs are really horrible. AMTs really are crap. Stay away. And motoring journalists, we're not the biggest fans of CVTs. This CVT is great. It's great. It's good. It doesn't make a hell of a noise. If you're just cruising around town, like 90% of buyers are going to do with this car, it sits at like 1,400 RPM, emissions around at 4.2 liters per 100. So the auto is good. The design for me, I'm still on the fence with the design. I prefer the look of the previous one, but I mean, look at me. I'm not a connoisseur on design, so I'll forgive them the design. But it's affordable. I think one of the models, the GL Plus, is cheaper than what the predecessor was.
Correct.
There's a new motor. It's just good.
A lot more safety as well. Look, I think the all-round package of this new Swift is really, really quite cool. Yeah, like Brendan said, the styling is a bit, I think a lot of people are on the fence. I saw a lot of that on my social media.
Correct,
People are not, they haven't really warmed up to it yet. But I think give it some time. I've seen a few on the roads, and I think it looks actually quite nice. You know, it looks quirky, you know, and I think that's what the Swift has always been. So I think, it's definitely a great package. I mean, almost best-in-class safety, if I'm not mistaken, 6 airbags, which is really, really quite impressive.
Most in that category as well. You usually cheap and nasty. This is
Totally.
cheap and good.
Yep.
It's good.
Yep.
It does what it says on the tin.
Yeah. It's
There's
good
not
value
one
for
thing
money.
where you go, oh.
They shouldn't
Exactly,
have.
exactly.
Suzuki's really improving in that segment as well, like
Definitely.
really bringing a good product, But something as you mentioned that social media was not warming up to it. They spoke about price a lot for this car.
Yeah, so I think people on social media have just not sort of accepted the reality that cars these days are just expensive. People are comparing top of the range. Swift is about 25, and people are comparing that to like a car from like 10, 15 years ago, which is totally unfair. The current car market is just how it is currently, and if you consider what else you're getting in the segment for that price, then it kind of starts to make sense.
So I'll challenge any of these guys. Find me something that is as light on feel, as well made, has as good a dealer network, is as complete as a Swift package, under 300 grand, and we can talk. But I don't think it exists.
And I don't think we'll be having that conversation anytime soon,
Nope.
because there just isn't anything.
I don't think so.